Earlier today, Senator Natasha, Senator representing Kogi Central, turned on her phone and then made a live video of how she was denied um, uh, the right to travel out of the country. Her international passport was seized, right? So we're looking at all of that here. What says the law about the seizure of the international passport of a citizen? What says the law? Okay. So, but before we proceed, let's hear directly from Senator Natasha Udwaga.
Committed any offense? Why are you withholding my passport? Hello, fellow Nigerians. Good morning. This is Senator Natasha Udwaga. I haven't completed my celebration of my second year in office. I decided to take a week off. So I'm at the airport here, and my passport is being withheld again. The same thing happened last time where my passport was seized. I have committed no offense. Please, can you tell them to release my passport and this embarrassment should stop?
All right. So you heard it there from Senator Natasha Akboti, and we asked the question, right? What says the law on this issue? We go to the Constitution because that's the organic law of the country, and we go to Section 41 of the Constitution. What does it say? Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part of Nigeria. And no citizen of Nigeria shall be expelled from the country or notes refused entry into the country or refused exits from the country. So it's a fundamental right, Section 41 of the Constitution. It stops anybody, every citizen of Nigeria, every security agency in Nigeria from restricting the rights to freedom of movement of citizens. And incidental to the right of freedom of movement, okay, is the right of freedom to move out of the country, to come back to the country at any time. So nobody should stop you from exiting the country at any time you want to. It's a matter of you having the money to fund your travel expenses. If you're able to do that and you have the international passport that gives you the clearance, the law says you should not be restricted. Nobody should restrict you. Nobody should stop you at the international airport, on your way to the airport or whatever. Nobody should stop you from exiting the country. It's a constitutional right. It's a fundamental right. And every fundamental right must be respected at all times. Any violation of fundamental rights is an affront to the Constitution. So, the seizing of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's passport this morning, okay, and denying her the right to exit the country, okay, is a violation of her right to freedom of movement. It runs contrary to the provision of the Constitution, Section 41 of the Constitution. And therefore, what was done to her by immigration today, without mincing words, is a violation of her rights to freedom of movement. It is the same right that is available to every other citizen of the country. It's not only Senator Natasha. So every citizen of this country has that right, guaranteed in the Constitution, to leave the country at any time you want to, provided you have the money to fund your travel. You have the international passport, you have all the qualifications. You present it, you should be cleared to travel. That's the provision of Section 41 of the Constitution. Now, there is nothing new under the law. Everything that has happened now has possibly happened before. And that is where you talk about decided cases. You know, people talk about lawyers quoting cases, 1900, 19 this and that. What lawyers quote in the cases, okay, if it is quoting, right? It's about looking at what had happened before and what has happened now. You look at the similarity in the two situations, and then you seek to know what the court had held in the previous situation and apply it to the present situation. So, during the military government of Sani Abacha, Olisaba Koba, senior advocate of Nigeria, at that time he wasn't a senior advocate of Nigeria, but today he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Olisaba Koba wanted to travel out of the country, and he was stopped at the airport. The same thing with Senator Natasha's own. The people that stopped him at the airport were not the immigration officers. They were officers of the DSS, right? The SSS. the Secret Service of Nigeria. Olisa Bakoba went to the court to seek interpretation of of the rights to freedom of movement, and to also seek protection of his fundamental rights. And the court held in his favor. What did the court say? The right to freedom of movement, particularly the right not to be refused entry to or exit from Nigeria. Exit. Senator Natasha's own was about exit. Such rights will be empty without a concomitant right not to be deprived of, note, the documents which makes such movement possible. What's the document that makes international movement possible? It's the international passport. So the court here was saying that the rights to freedom of movement will not have meaning if the courts do not also interpret to include the right to the document that allows you to move. In this case, the international passport. The court went on. It will be an affront to all known human rights norms if the right to freedom of exit, specifically guaranteed by our Constitution, were to be drained of all effect by arrogating to the government a discretionary and almost arbitrary power to withhold, to withdraw, or to revoke a passport belonging to a citizen of Nigeria. Right? So that's what the court held. So it goes back to the issue that I said, that in law, nothing really is new to the law. What has happened before. Right? Now we ask some questions. What if a court of law had granted an order to Immigration Service against Senator Natasha's passport? Here is the answer. That is where the seizure of the passport of Senator Natasha would become lawful, because a court of law has given the order. Mostly, it will be taken ex parte to the court, and the court will grant in your absence without your knowledge. If such order is available in Senator Natasha's case, then the seizure was within the bounds of the law and therefore lawful. Right? A court can order the seizure where evidence has been shown to the court that a person that is about leaving the country is a wanted person. He has committed an offense and he wants to run out of the country. So instead of allowing him to run away from justice, away from jurisdiction, the court can grant an order for his movement to be restricted. Particularly, the court can say, let the immigration officers not clear him or her to travel. Okay? International passport can also be withheld upon the order of the court for security reasons. Maybe somebody is a flight risk, somebody standing trial, and the court has specifically said don't travel, and the person wants to travel and run out of the country. Maybe somebody is a felon, a criminal, who wants to, do one thing or the other in breach of security. The court can give an order to restrict the person's rights. So, if there is a court order in the hands of immigration, okay, supporting their seizure of Senator Natasha Akpoti's passport, then they have committed no offense. But if there was any such order, I am sure that immigration would not have handed over Senator Natasha's international passport to her immediately. They wouldn't have. They would have held on to the court order. But in this case, after about 20 minutes or thereabouts, they handed it over. So that shows that there was no such court order in the possession of immigration. Now, what if immigration has no such order from the courts? This is another question that people are asking. Here is the answer. Natasha can sue them for breach of fundamental rights to freedom of movement. She can sue them. She has the right to go to the state high court to sue them, or go to the federal high court in any part of the country. If this happened in Abuja, fine. She sues them in Abuja. And whenever you sue for fundamental rights enforcement, you must also sue for payment of damages to you. So if she succeeds in showing to the court that her fundamental rights to freedom of movement had been unduly restricted without a court order, she is expected to ask for damages, millions of naira in damages. And if the court rules in her favor, damages must necessarily be granted against immigration in the circumstance. Now, here is my take. I like to do this in all my videos. One, security agencies in Nigeria must act within the confines of law at all times. You are creations of law, and you must be guided by the principles of law. Don't allow politicians to call you to restrict the movement of a citizen without court order. You will certainly run yourself into trouble if the citizen understands his or her rights and takes it up against you, right? When in doubt about the rights of citizens, consult your legal department in-house. Immigration has legal departments, in-house legal departments. Every significant agency of government, they have in-house legal departments. Consult your legal department in-house or call your external solicitors. Most of them, they have external solicitors, lawyers that take up brief for them, go to court for them and do other, legalese for them. Two, fundamental rights of citizens must be respected at all times, not only that of Senator Natasha. And sometimes Nigeria, it's difficult to understand some things about this country. A serving senator is restricted from traveling. So imagine what happens to ordinary citizens. Imagine if the senator did not put on her phone and make it public, go viral. If you look at that video, you see like 2 point something. As at the last time I checked, it was like 2.4 million views. That means it has gone global. So can we not spare ourselves as a country some embarrassments? Okay? So fundamental rights of citizens must be respected at all times. Three, most seizure of passports would require court order to avoid running into trouble. That's the truth. Most seizure of passports of citizens would require court order. Why? Because the right to be in Nigeria and the right to go out of Nigeria at any time you can afford, right, is a fundamental right, it's a constitutional right. And for you to, tamper with that right, you must necessarily get the order of court to support you. It is only in rare circumstances that the security agencies can move in immediately to stop a felon from departing the country. There was no time whatsoever to go get an order of court, and so they act on the spur of the moment and then get the person not to travel and then move immediately to get an order of court, sanctioning that very action. But in most instances, and this is what security agencies should do in this country, get the order of court as quickly as possible to be able to know that what you are doing is in line with the law. Anything outside that, you certainly run into trouble as security agents in the country, and damages can rightly be awarded in millions against any defaulting security agency. Many thanks always for watching.